Wouldn't it be better if you put her someplace?
You mean an institution? A madhouse?
You just found the marble in the oatmeal. You're a lucky, lucky, lucky little boy. Do you know why? You get to drink from the fire hose! Okay, you ready? Open wide! I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Hey, you want to see crazy?
You really are crazy.
I don't get it, Doc. I mean, how can all this be happening? It's like we're in hell or something.
No, it's Hill Valley, although I can't imagine hell being much worse.
Now you want to get nuts?
Shut up, you freak!
Come on!
I said shut up! It's a madhouse! A madhouse!
Hello and welcome to Movie Madhouse, a podcast about films lost to the annals of time. I'm Travis Fishburne.
And I'm Alex Brunel.
And this week we will be covering Spaced Invaders.
Yes! The 1990 independent come Disney release by Patrick Reed Johnson and co. This movie's a huge team effort. And we've got some stuff to say about this movie, I think. This movie's been a favorite of mine for a really long time, definitely since I was a kid. I've revisited it a number of times in my life. Most recently, I think, was about 11 years ago, and I was reminded on my time hop a couple days before our show last week, where I had successively tweeted, about to watch Spaced Invaders in 2009, hope it's still great, and then tweeted 2 hours later, yep, still great. And 2020 me agrees. So we'll get into that. I'm looking forward. But we do have some top of the news crap.
Important news.
Crap.
So
yeah.
We were waiting for it. We were wanting some more Snyder Cut news, and we got it.
We have a teaser trailer.
DC Fandom happened over the weekend, and so we got a bunch of new trailers.
Including a Batman trailer that makes no sense.
Yes, but including the Snyder Cut trailer. Complete with unfinished visual effects and scored with Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah.
Oh my
which
God,
Zack
dude.
Snyder cannot put down.
Oh my God, dude. Okay, so before I get into my thoughts on the trailer, which are just that it's bad. Really, that's the only thing. Is like, who is this movie for? I guess for all these people that keep yelling on Twitter about it. But I'm gonna actually I think my favorite little kind of bubble synopsis of a good reaction to this trailer is our old friend Max Eberly, Travis, posted when the trailer came out, the Snyder Cut looks Snydery. This is not a compliment. And a human being by the Facebook name Billion Boheme, made a couple of very insightful comments. Number one, looks like it was made by a 13-year-old boy who likes swords, explosions, and iMovie. And regarding Hallelujah, at this point, I think it's just the only song he knows most of the words to. With the other note, and this is I have to credit Billiam for this because I'm going to steal this for life when I'm describing Zack Snyder. Snyder has always been Michael Bay without the self-awareness.
Oh yeah,
and I cannot disagree. Wow, the Snyder Cut trailer looks so dumb. And there's a really good article on Slash Film that kind of better encapsulates feelings I have about the trailer, written into a nice article, where like Snyder during his Q&A, which was a weird Q&A, apparently it was like he had video of the cast asking him questions, which then he answered to just talk more about whatever. And according to him, Cyborg is, quote, the heart of this movie now, where whoever wrote the Slash Film article described Cyborg as barely a character in the theatrical cut, which you know what? I don't even remember Cyborg in that movie, and I've seen it, so I would have to agree with barely a character. So I'll be very interested to see if barely a character actually gets elevated to heart of the movie here.
Yeah, that would be interesting. There were some complaints about that from the actor who played Cyborg.
Oh, yeah?
And his experience with Joss Whedon and how much his role got cut down.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, there's some controversy surrounding that.
Well, yeah. Is there an explanation as to why that trailer was in 4:3?
No, I thought that when I was pulling that image, I'm like, wait, why does this look like this?
Yeah, the whole trailer is in 4:3, like old school full frame.
Yeah, it's to remind you this is going to be on TV,
and it's going to be 4 hours broken up into 4 parts.
Yeah,
which
at least you don't have to watch it all at once.
I would kind of prefer to. I don't want to like stretch out this experience and have my brain dwell on it over the course of like days. I want to just deal with it. Which I will be doing. There's every so often I will watch a movie that from the outset, I know that I won't like, and I'm not even going to try to like. I just need to see it for whatever reason.
I mean, that's how I was with the theatrical cut of this film.
Yeah, no, same. I think a recent one of that for me is probably Guy Ritchie's Aladdin, which I've complained about on this show before. Soulless, awful film. Anyway, the Snyder Cut is unfortunately real. People are unfortunately excited about it. If people are excited about it, that's fine.
Prepare to die,
yeah, Sarah was asking me while we were watching. She's like, "Is this for a video game?" Because of how bad the special effects still look at this point.
They do look bad. But you know what, dude? I would wager that they are not going to look that much better by the time the movie comes out.
Yeah,
it's going to just look like this, like, just like hot garbage candy nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was so bad. I had heard prior to seeing it that they were that like a Leonard Cohen song was being used. I'm like, oh, interesting. He's using him again. And then as soon as the trailer started, I was like, I can't believe he's using this song again.
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And then, you know, I think Alex Winter, Bill S. Preston Esquire, tweeted like, "We must retire the use of Hallelujah in all film." That was like, he didn't talk about the Snyder Cut, didn't say anything, just said we must retire this song. Yeah. But the other info out of DC Fandom is this other image you sent.
Yeah. Well, we also got like a Wonder Woman 84 trailer, which looks good. Got the cast in that I'm very excited about. And then we, discussed briefly the Batman trailer.
Yeah.
And then we've got an image here of what's going to be the best DCEU movie of all time.
It's gotta be, right? We can't have a James Gunn movie in the DCEU and not have it be the best one, right?
Yeah. So we got some images from the Suicide Squad, which it's like the only DCEU movie I've ever been like legitimately excited for.
Yeah. I'm reserving excitement, but I am interested, whereas I am not about almost all other DC films. Although I am actually very interested in The Flash.
Oh yeah, we got info about that too.
Yeah, we did, because we learned a while ago that Michael Keaton will be reprising his role as Batman in The Flash because he's going to be dealing with alternate timelines and whatnot. But we learned this past weekend that Batfleck will also be in the film.
Into the Batverse.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's have all the Batmans. I would love all the Batmans.
Oh my gosh, if they got George
movie.
Clooney.
Oh, that would be so great.
And Val Kilmer.
Oh, Val. I wonder how he's doing right now. But yeah, so that'll be interesting. I for better or worse, I kind of liked Batfleck.
Oh, me too. I was really excited when it was announced he was going to be Batman.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm very excited about an older, Affleck Batman.
Yeah, no, me too. I liked him in that because it was very comic booky. His portrayal of Batman, I liked it. I didn't necessarily think any of it was very good, but I liked it. I actually didn't hate the long cut of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which I did sit through the long version of that.
Yeah, I think that's the only version of that I've seen.
I only heard that it's better, but it's also the thing of like Zack Snyder, like you can't just like make a 3-hour movie and say like it's only good if it's 3 hours, and like, yeah, that's a Rise of Skywalker complaint, really. Yeah.
All right. So there's our Snyder cut news for the week.
Yeah, that's our DC news brief, because they, Lord help them, they keep trying.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd also watch Aquaman too. I liked Aquaman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I keep hearing. I mean, I still need to see the first one, but I keep hearing James Wan saying that he's going to bring more horror elements into the second as well. And
like, I also feel like a weird affinity toward James Wan movies, even if I don't like all of them, because like, I like the first Saw movie very much. I think that was a very good little movie. It holds a special place for me, and yeah, I've just been very interested to see James Wan get to the position he's in now from where he started.
I love The Conjuring so much.
Conjuring is really great.
Yeah,
The Conjuring is really,
so
really
crazy because it's rated R, right?
Yeah,
it's rated R for no other reason than it's just like super intense.
Yeah,
nobody dies in that movie.
No, it's just very heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ratings are so silly anyway. I rewatched Alien vs. Predator yesterday for the first time in a number of years. And by the way, I think I'm not going to say great movie, but I like that movie a lot. Anybody who doesn't like Alien vs. Predator, the first one from 2004, I don't know what you were hoping for out of an Alien vs. Predator movie, because that is a dumb idea on its face, and we got a fun movie out of it with good Alien on Predator action. And I think that was honestly the best we could have hoped for.
And Predator teaming up with human action.
Yeah, it was fun. It was weird. The production design was super cool, but this isn't a podcast about AVP. This is a podcast about Space Invaders today.
Yes.
So let's talk about that, shall we?
In which a character dresses up like one of the aliens from Alien.
Yes.
And Alien.
Yeah, it does. The plot synopsis, per IMDb, is a little unclear, so I'll clarify after I read it. But dim-witted Martians drop into a little Illinois town on the day the local radio station happens to rebroadcast Orson Welles' 1938 War of the Worlds. And while it's basically true, the gist of it is, it's Halloween in Big Bean, Illinois. Our hero aliens are kind of just orbiting in their ship around Mars. They know their armada is making an attack somewhere. They don't know where it is. They put out like their little antenna to try to get a transmission to figure out what's going on. They happen to pick up this War of the Worlds broadcast from Big Bean, Illinois, and think, "Oh, we're invading Earth. We have to go. This is happening now. We're missing it." And so then they go to Earth based on the fact that of this radio broadcast playing, and they just misinterpret that as an actual attack. And I'm going to also quote here part of Roger Ebert's review of this movie, which I could not disagree more with in like a fundamental way. All respect to Roger Ebert, I don't agree with him very often. He said, "Maybe I've lost touch with silly, brainless entertainment like this. Let's hope so. One of the purposes of growing up and getting an education is to learn why movies like Space Invaders are a waste of time."
Oh.
Wow. I could not disagree with that harder, actually. I think number one, I think it's legitimately really funny. I laugh throughout the movie. I think the performances are generally very, very charming. And the effects work is like, for the obvious low budgetness of the movie, the effects work is amazing.
I was so impressed and not prepared for how good it looked.
Yeah. So you had never seen it before. You and Sarah had never seen it before. What did you think?
I enjoyed it. I loved the performances of the little characters, their voices, even though it just brought up so many questions for me. I'm like, what? Why are they? Okay, why are they talking like this, and why do they have so much Earth culture?
Yeah, they Blasny's wearing a Lakers t-shirt.
Yeah.
Another one's wearing like a Letterman's jacket. The Earth slang. They sing a version of "Where the Buffalo Roam" with Martian lyrics. Yeah.
So like putting all that aside, I quite enjoyed that. I enjoyed the robot man that they used. What's the character's name?
Vern.
Vern, yeah.
Vern droid.
Yes.
I didn't know if you were talking about Vern or who's dressed up as Zorro in the movie. If that was one little criticism I had with the movie is like, it's not always the easiest to pick up on characters' names throughout the course of the movie. But that was Vern. He's dressed up as Zorro in the movie. But I didn't know if you're referring to him or the little orb droid, the little BB 7.5.
Short stuff.
Short stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's hard to keep track of all the characters' names. I also really enjoyed Klembecker, his performance.
Yep. And it just performances. I think my favorite out of the entire cast is little J.J. Anderson, who plays the little boy dressed as a duck. I think he's hysterical. I think every one of his like joke deliveries just knocks it out of the park, and he's got this. He commits to that lisp so well. Yeah. I love it.
And
prepare to die.
Sarah and I were both like, we're never seeing this boy's actual face.
No.
We're just going to see him as a duck the whole movie. So we were very surprised when we actually saw his face at the end.
Yeah, he slowly gets rid of the costume.
And
Culminated.
you can tell, like, you keep going.
No, go ahead.
And in some shots, like, you can see like past the mask a little bit, and you're like, he's doing some crazy things with his face.
Yeah. And yeah, when he's like, he has to run at one point and has to take off his fake feet that he's wearing and goes, "Forgive me, mother, I have to throw away my fins. I'll make it up to you someday, somehow."
Yeah. There was that he did.
I love this kid. So there's not a huge ton of background information on this movie available online. But there was recently released by Kino Lorber a special edition Blu-ray that featured a newly recorded commentary track by co-writer and director Patrick Reed Johnson, co-writer Scott Lawrence Alexander, co-editor Seth Graven, and second unit director and second unit DP Scott Andrew Ressler. So I did power listen to that today. I time compressed it so I could listen to it in about an hour. And I did get some fun info out of that. And just to talk about Patrick Reed Johnson briefly, the guy who made this movie, he has a background in special effects. He kind of grew up around special effects. Star Wars nerds, as we mentioned last week, will perhaps know that he directed this film 52577.
That very few Star Wars nerds have actually seen.
Very few. And Patrick Reed Johnson first saw Star Wars during spring break in 1977, sometime between late March and early April, when ILM was scrambling to complete VFX shots. So he knew people within ILM and got to see Star Wars early that way. He had also finished. He had also visited the set of Close Encounters of the Third Kind for a few days, and got to see Douglas Trumbull's special effects work up close and personal and stuff like this. So that is absolutely the background that Patrick Reed Johnson is coming from, and that is solely why, and like him knowing these people and being in that world is why the incredible John Knoll was the visual effects supervisor on this film. And of course we know now John Knoll has been kind of like the senior management at ILM for like 25 years or something.
Yeah.
Like a really long time. He started with Star Wars, he started on the special editions, but he was the supervisor for VFX in the special editions, all the prequels, all the new movies. Currently working on The Mandalorian, also worked on like the warp effect for Next Gen. That was John Knoll. I didn't know that. Worked on Willow, Mission Impossible, Deep Blue Sea, the whole Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, like Avatar, Super 8, all these movies, Aquaman. So, John Knoll...
And he was the guy who came up with the idea for Rogue One.
Yes, also John Knoll. So, that's
and made Photoshop.
Yeah, that's a note I have, too. I did not know that he and his brother Tom wrote the original software for Photoshop. That is madness to me. So, I think it's fair to say that whether you know it or not, your life has probably been influenced by the work of John Knoll.
Yeah. What a slacker.
So here's what I got in terms of background info on the movie. The original title was Martians, meaning the word Martians with 3 exclamation points. The first date of shooting was actually October 31st, 1988, the real 50th anniversary of the War of the Worlds broadcast. John Knoll had 200 visual effects shots to do and an operating budget of $183,000 with which to do them. The budget for the movie was originally 1.75. That was their original production budget. After Disney picked it up, the final budget wound up being closer to 2.2. It was shot over the course of 30 shooting days. It wasn't produced by Disney. It was independently produced, and Buena Vista later picked it up for distribution. Or Touchstone, rather.
I was
distributed
very
through Buena Vista. Yeah.
Watching the end credits, seeing the Touchstone, had released it. Oh, okay. Interesting.
So Disney passed on the script because Patrick Ray Johnson and the team brought the script to Disney and said, how much do you need to make this movie? And Johnson said $2 million. Disney was like, that is not possible. This movie costs at least $20 million, and we will not produce this for $20 million. So we're sorry, but no. Then he goes away, shoots the movie for less than $2 million, comes back, and then Disney buys it, releases it. They make $20 million back domestically at the box office, and that was before international release and before VHS sell-through, which was early in the day of direct market VHS, because in the 80s and into the early 90s, a lot of VHS releases were specifically priced for the rental market and not ownership. But Space Invaders was a sell-through title, priced to own. So the movie made back, 1,000 times its money, and the VHS sell-through was so popular that in Disney's stockholders report that year, it led to a Disney exec remarking, "We should be making more movies like this."
Wow.
Yeah. Almost all of the visual effects in the movie are done in camera somehow, whether they be miniature shots or forced perspective or any kinds of weird combination, large scale effects and stuff. Almost all of it is done in camera. There was some stuff where there would be a miniature hanging in the foreground to make something in the back appear, to make that appear huge, mingling with the rest of a set. It's a lot of when they're shooting with the cornfields in the backgrounds, like on the street shots, cornfields in the backgrounds. That's all on a stage because they couldn't really work with the kids doing night shooting. That would have been very difficult. So what they did is they constructed a miniature of the cornfield, put it up at an angle, and forced the perspective as if they're in this huge field, but really they're just on a 10-foot soundstage. Other stuff like the wide shot of the radio station is a miniature with a photo of the actual building pasted onto the model of the building. I don't know if you noticed, but I noticed. I thought it was great. You'll see these really cool wide ultra wide panoramic shots of just a car driving through the country road. Those are all miniatures.
Yeah, I noticed that right away. I was like, whoa, that was just a miniature shot.
Yeah. Love all of it. I love how all of it looks. One of the things, what was this? The Farmzoid at the end, the big evil robot that Verndroid makes, or the distraction as it is at the end of the movie. There's the shot where the tractor part is it looks like it's rising up, right? It looks like it's huge and it's rising up. They couldn't lift that tractor. So what they did was the building behind the tractor, they had the roof section, and they lowered the roof section to make it and just tilt and move the camera to make it look like the Farmzoid was rising. And like a lot of the Farmzoid sequence was shot by two people, or like all the like miniature shots of it, where Wrestler was operating the camera with one hand and using cans of compressed air in the other hand to make the fans spin on it, and another guy, what's his name, Mark Sicoli, was pumping talcum powder through hoses to make it look like smoke was pouring out of it. What's some other stuff? It was shot in Altadena, California. Wrenchmuller, the old man, who I love in this movie, Royal Dano, I think is a lot of fun in this movie. And he plays basically the same character that he plays in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But that character was originally going to be DeForest Kelley. And DeForest Kelley agreed to do it. And he was going to do it, but then Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country happened, and he had to back out. So
I mean, I guess.
Yep.
I'm just imagining a world where he like gets locked into this movie, and then they have to kill off Bones and not show him.
That'd have been so funny. But that also, specifically, that's why the dog's name was Jim. So DeForest Kelley could keep yelling at Jim for the whole movie.
Damn it, Jim.
Yep. Yep. And I love that dog in the movie. I don't know if you noticed, but that dog is an excellent dog performer. That dog, like, he does cues so well in the movie. And there's like these little jokes that you don't really, I don't think they hit very well, but if you're really looking for them, you pick up on them. The dog lets himself out of the car pretty early on in the movie. Like, Wrenchmuller gets out of the car, and then he's walking away. The other door opens, and then the dog comes out. He opened his own door. There's another part where off camera, it kind of implies that he knows how to use the little point-and-shoot camera that Wrenchmuller has. Yeah.
While we're on the DeForest Kelley thing,
Feel free to stop me at any point.
Quick anecdote. I got a phone call from DeForest Kelley at work like a year or so ago.
What?
Not that one.
Okay, because that doesn't make sense because he's not with us anymore, right? Yes.
Yep. But, on the caller ID at work, I just took somebody's call and it said like, it says like Kelley, comma DeForest. I'm like, that's weird. And so what I'm taking the note from this guy, I ask like his name to clarify. I'm like, and then who is this? And he's like, it's first name DeForest, last name Kelley. And I'm like the Star Trek actor. He's like, yeah. He never explained it, but I'm like, that is too specific of a name for that his parents not to have done that on purpose.
That's very weird. And you know what, dude? If I can if my memory is correct, for 10 years ago, I seem to remember a moment when I was working at the front desk at the Andy Warhol Museum and the phone rang and caller ID said DeForest Kelley, and I was very confused.
Wow.
I wonder if you're DeForest Kelley called my former workplace 10 years ago.
Maybe. How many DeForest Kellys are there?
There can't be that many. Cannot be that many.
Who names any kid DeForest?
Yeah. Cannot answer.
Yeah.
Let's see. What other tidbits do I have here? Oh yeah. So there are a few composite shots in the movie. They're kind of obvious because the composite shots don't look great. And they look kind of cheaply done with a lot of dirt baked into it, which makes sense. But when the ship blows up at the beginning of the movie, those explosions were stolen from Empire of the Sun. John Knoll just took the same elements that were used and created for Empire of the Sun and reused them in Space Invaders. The actors wearing the alien suits couldn't really see anything or hear anything. The motors in the heads would drown out almost anything they could hear, and the only way they had to see were angles or mirrors mounted at 45-degree angles in the mouth. Which basically led to them not being able to see at all. So they were only directed by Patrick Reed Johnson shouting very loud, "Turn right, left, straight," and such.
Wow. They could not wire anything in their heads so that they could...
Apparently not, man. I mean, I don't know if, miniaturized wireless video transmission was really there yet on a sub $2 million budget in the late 80s.
Yeah.
Let's see. Patrick Reed Johnson kind of feels like Invader Zim ganked some aspects of alien traits for their show from this movie, and upon hearing that comparison, I kind of can't disagree. I think there's some stylistic overlap between our alien characters in this movie and Invader Zim.
Mm-hmm.
They were lent a projection system. It was a front projection system for projecting onto black. Again, this was part of simulating exterior night shoots on a soundstage, and that projection system was lent directly from visual effects master Douglas Trumbull, and it was the same projection system used on Silent Running. And that's why Trumbull has a special thanks in the credits at the end.
Nice.
So Johnson was not in Spielberg's camp, but at least was socially associated with Spielberg at the time. And Spielberg was an early, I don't want to support her, but saw the movie very early on, relatively. And his first reaction to the movie was, "Who is she?" regarding Ariana Richards, who he would cast in Jurassic Park 2 years later. So I think we have this movie to thank for her presence in Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Who knows who it would have been otherwise?
Who knows? So this is actually really interesting too. This is the last bit of behind the scenes info I have. The movie was temp scored with Andrew Lloyd Webber's Variations on a Theme by Paganini album. And that's what Johnson actually wanted to use as the score for the film. So he wrote to Andrew Lloyd Webber to attempt to license the music, and to his surprise, he got a response from Andrew Lloyd Webber, right? Yeah, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Andrew Lloyd Webber's lawyer saying they could license the music for the film, something Webber had never allowed for a project that he didn't compose the music directly for.
Wow.
It was going to be the first instance of Webber's music being licensed and used heavily for a thing it was not originally intended for. Webber signed off on that and agreed to license the music for $30,000. The producer, Luigi Cingolani, Italian last name, I'm sorry, balked and was like, "No, I'm not paying that. I can get a better score for cheaper." And then we got the score that we have now by David E. Russo, which I think is a fantastic score. I love the score in this movie, but it was almost an Andrew Lloyd Webber score.
Wow, that's crazy.
So yeah, that's what I got on the background of this movie.
David E. Russo. I looked it up because I'm like, that name just seems familiar. And then I looked at his credits and I'm like, I've not seen a single thing that he's worked on.
Yeah, he's done other Patrick Reed Johnson movies, like Angus. He did Angus. He also did the score for The Hottie and the Naughty and the Nikita TV series, and also the part of the DC TV universe now, Gotham, and he also is doing the score for Pennyworth, which I forgot was a show. I forgot there was a Young Alfred show.
Yeah. Don't forget that other Gotham show that's coming to HBO.
There's another.
Have you heard
one?
about that? Yeah.
What?
We should have talked about that in the DC. But yeah, it's going to be connected directly to the new Batman movie.
Is it a Jeffrey Wright show?
I think it's going to be a lot of Jeffrey Wright. Yeah.
So is Jeffrey Wright going to be a big part of two shows on HBO simultaneously?
Possibly.
That's fine. I love Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah. They're using the right stuff there.
Nice. So yeah, that's kind of what I got. I mean, also, I forgot to mention with Patrick Reed Johnson, in addition to 52577, he also directed, he wrote Dragonheart, actually, which I kind of want to revisit Dragonheart. He also directed Angus, and he directed the movie Baby's Day Out.
Yes.
And as I was reading, to mention Roger Ebert again, and this is just me parroting the Wikipedia article here for Baby's Day Out, the film was tremendously popular in India. It was played in the largest theater We're talking about Baby's Day Out here. It was played in the largest theater in Calcutta for over a year. Over a year. Recalling a trip to Calcutta, Roger Ebert said, "I asked if Star Wars had been their most successful American film. No, I was told it was Baby's Day Out." And in India, it has been remade twice.
Oh my.
First in Telugu in 1995 under the name Sisindri, and then in Malayalam in 1999 under the title James Bond.
What?
I can't possibly explain that one. But there are 2 Indian remakes of Baby's Day Out.
Wow. Do you think when they go back and they remake it that they get a bunch of flack from like the general public being like, we don't want it, don't mess with the original, it's perfect?
I would love to know if there was any social protest over the Indian remakes of Baby's Day Out in India, the land of where that was popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you want to talk about cast? Should I talk about crew a bit?
No, yeah, we can go into cast.
Let's talk about cast, and then I'll come back to the crew. I think the crew's there's some interesting stuff going on there that I think is fun to talk about. But let's talk about the cast. We got a lot of fun stuff going on here.
Yeah, the cast is, I mean, just like Space Jam. Space Jam was a huge cast, and so is this. But luckily, there's a lot more actors here.
Yeah, yeah. Trackable people.
Yeah. We've got Douglas Barr, who played Sam. And,
Sheriff.
Yes.
Yep.
And looking at his IMDb, I was like, all right, I have not seen a single thing that he's been in other than this movie. He was mostly like a TV actor in the 80s, it looks like. He was in The Fall Guy, Love Boat, The Wizard. Not the video game movie, but
right.
a show.
The TV show The Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he was in the entirety of The Fall Guy, it's looking like. He was in every episode of that show. That's interesting.
And then you had mentioned earlier, we got Roy O'Dano, played Wrenchmuller, and he's just, a big story, has a big career. He was in The Right Stuff, The Outlaw Josie Wales, Moby Dick, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, tons of things.
Oh, yeah, he was in 2 episodes of Twin Peaks. That's another reason why he looks familiar. He was the judge that comes in early in the 2nd season for all you Peak nerds.
Nice. And then, of course, we've got Ariana Richards, who is probably the most popular person who has ever been sneezed on by a brachiosaurus. She was also in Tremors. And she doesn't have a long filmography other than Jurassic Park and Tremors. But I didn't realize she was in the music video for Ben Fold 5's Brick.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. She was also, I do think it's interesting to note, she's also in Angus, which is another Patrick Reed Johnson film.
And then J.J. Anderson played Brian, little duck boy.
My favorite.
And he doesn't really, I thought for sure I would have known him from something.
Totally.
But no, if you look at his filmography, it's like 4 things total.
Yep.
And the most notable thing I could come up with was student number 3 in Casper.
Yeah. Which is like that. I mean, it's interesting to me. It must just be that the kid, I would hope that it was just like he kind of lost interest in the acting thing and, did something else. But I thought he was like hugely charismatic in his part in Spaced Invaders. And he's one of the performance highlights for me, for sure.
Yeah, because you'd think for sure, based off of what you saw here, he would have had more stuff.
Totally. He had such a sense of comic timing. Like, very obviously had like a very good sense of comic timing. And for a kid that young, I feel like that's pretty special. So, yeah.
And then we've got Greg Berger, who played Clem Becker. I think it's probably my favorite character in the movie to watch. And he's not really a screen actor. He's a voice actor.
Very prolific.
Yes, a ton of stuff. Probably most notable for me is in the '90s Spider-Man cartoon. He voiced Mysterio and Kraven the Hunter.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's also seems to be the voice of Odie for the majority of the past 30 to 40 years.
Interesting.
And Grimlock and Transformers.
Oh, nice.
And tons of other things, but
Sure. Yeah, I see 321 credits on his IMDb.
Yeah.
So.
And then we've got Wayne Alexander, who played Vern.
Vern, the guy dressed as Zorro the whole movie.
Yeah. Again, somebody I thought would have more of a filmography, and he doesn't have too much. He's been in a lot of Babylon 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's so funny in this movie. I think aside from J.J. Anderson, I do think that Wayne Alexander is the other like secret comedy sauce in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to Fred Applegate, who you're probably about to talk about, who's also really funny in this movie. But Wayne Alexander, just like the weird stuff he does when he's the Martian robot and the Captain Pipto, like the
Yes.
the cadence and delivery he has as that robot is so good.
Yeah, when that characterization just like changes and switches, and like his body and everything, it's very good.
Yeah.
Also, as soon as he's introduced, he talks like Dracula at first,
Yeah, he does.
and then but Sarah and I were both like, but he's dressed like Zorro, and then he's like, I'm Zorro. I don't know, like, oh, okay.
He's just doing it
just
very
a
badly.
weird, yes, first impression there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got Fred Applegate, who played Russell. He was in the Newhart Show, Night Court, Growing Pains. I don't know.
He
Is
was.
there anything else?
He is more notable as a Broadway actor. He was actually apparently a big time. I don't know, big time, but like a very well noted Broadway actor for a number of years. That was his primary gig. Yeah.
Nice. Back when they were going to have Andrew Lloyd Webber provide the score.
Yeah. And I do have the note, I like this character. He plays the deputy sheriff character who, like, the town has just installed their first off-ramp, and they've just gotten a sheriff, and so they're trying to issue their first speeding ticket. That's what his character is mostly concentrating on, and he clocks the aliens coming in at 3,000 miles per hour and goes to give them a ticket. That's how he gets introduced to the aliens. But before that, he's on the bleeding edge of what is now considered vlogging.
Yeah, that was an interesting aspect where I'm like, wow, this is before even cops.
Totally,
right?
yeah. It's a dude in his car, dude in his cop car with the video camera talking to it like he's doing a submission tape for the Real World or something. Yeah, thought that was really funny.
Ahead of its time.
Totally.
And then we've got Patricia Darbo, which, I mean, she's just a character actress who's been in a ton of things, and you probably just like recognize her voice and face.
Totally.
She's the sheep in Babe. She was in The Burbs, Days of Our Lives. I noted she was in an episode of The Boys.
Oh.
Not The Boys we were gonna watch, but another series called The Boys from the 90s, which was a sitcom starring Ned Beatty and Christopher Maloney.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I'd never heard of this. But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I'm like vaguely interested to watch a sitcom starring Christopher Maloney.
Yeah.
But probably not enough to watch what is almost certainly a pretty bad show. Oh, I wonder if it's even piratable.
Yeah, only 6 episodes.
Yeah, interesting.
Then we've got Kevin Thompson, who played Basney, and here we start to get into the performers in the suits.
Mm-hmm.
In this guy, we've seen. This is our 4th time coming across Kevin.
Yeah,
because he played in the Ewok movies. He was an Ewok in those. He was also in Return of the Jedi. He was in Blade Runner, and he was Mr. Small in Dinosaur City.
Yeah, Kevin Thompson.
Then we've got Jimmy Briscoe, who played Captain Bipto. and I was looking at his filmography, and not a whole lot that I would recognize him from. He was in an episode of The Weird Al Show where he played Mippy.
Oh, I remember that guy.
And then we've got Tony Cox, who, if you've seen him, I mean, people know who this guy is.
The angry elf from Bad Santa.
Yep, Angry Elf from Bad Santa. He was in Me, Myself, and Irene as the limo driver. Mm-hmm. He was one of the dinks in Spaceballs.
Mm-hmm. He was also an Ewok in Return of the Jedi, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah, I think so. A lot of people were in Return of the Jedi.
Whoever was little and like had an agent in the early '80s was an Ewok.
Mm-hmm.
What was another notable? He was one of the stations in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Oh.
He was one of the little stations. I don't know if he was ultimately credited because he quit. Oh yeah, he is credited. Or no, IMDb says he's uncredited. But yeah, he quit that movie after an incident where he got hurt.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's the shot where they've just arrived back on Earth with Death in the stations, and they get in the van and speed away. Director Pete Hewitt told the guy driving the car to like really step on it to get this reaction shot of Death. So that shot of Death being surprised as the car pulls away very fast is genuine because the car is pulling away very fast. No one told the guys in the station suits who are also in there, which has a bunch of like heavy, mechanical stuff in it as well, that was happening. So like Tony Cox went tumbling out of his seat, like hurt his ribs, really hurt his arm. I don't know if anything was broken, but he was pretty mad and quit. Rightfully so.
Yeah, I was going to say justifiably
rightfully so. But yeah, station.
Wow. And then we've got Debbie Lee Carrington, who played Dr. Ziploc. She's been in a ton of stuff. Oh, she was also in the Ewok movies, in Return of the Jedi, Men in Black, and she was in Howard the Duck as additional ducks.
Yes, love it.
Tommy Madden played Giggywig. He was in Swamp Thing. He was also in in the Muppet movie, and is not very PC, but he's literally credited as One-Eyed Midget in the Muppet movie.
All right.
And then we've got Jeff Winkless, who did the voice for Captain Bipto. Don't really have much else on him. Bruce Lanoyle played the voice of Pez. He has also worked on a lot of Muppet stuff, and a lot of Jim Henson productions. Mm-hmm. He was in Dinosaurs. He played. He did the voice for Charlene Sinclair, the daughter.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
There's another Henson alum in the effects crew that I'll get to. I don't remember who it is right now, but there's more Henson stuff going on here too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Joe Alasky did the voice for Dr. Ziploc. He was most notable, I found, was he's got a lot of stuff, but he was the voice of the grandpa in Rugrats.
Oh, nice.
And he did a bunch of Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck like throughout the 90s, like up until now, but not in Space Jam.
That's interesting. Yeah, because Space Jam kind of like they tried to get, I don't know.
There were some issues going on with the voice acting in Space Jam.
There was some stuff going on
there. Tony Pope did the voice for Giggywig. Do not have really too much info on him. And then Patrick Reed Johnson provided the voice for Commander/Enforcer Drone.
Yeah, so the Commander is referring to the character like at the very beginning of the movie when we're in the alien ship and a character is disintegrated in the first 3 minutes, and what I think is like a great visual joke. But actually, all the voices in that scene, the Enforcer Drone, the Commander, and the 2 aliens, they're all Patrick Reed Johnson.
Wow.
He did the voice for all of them in that scene. And the Enforcer Drone, I mean, I'm sure you noticed this. We could have pulled a visual if it didn't, but like 1,000,000% heavily inspired by the Imperial probe droid.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like,
for sure.
It is just like, and he admit that's like the first thing he says in the commentary track. He's like, "That's not an Imperial probe droid."
And it's definitely just a thing on a stick.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great looking thing on a stick, though.
Yep. Yeah, and then finally we've got Kirk R. Thatcher, who did the voice for Short Stuff, the tiny little robot. And he's just like a producer, director, writer. He's worked a bunch with Jim Henson Productions. He's a creature technician on Return of the Jedi and Gremlins, and some other stuff, which we'll get into.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a wonderful assembly of people. I think that all the performances of the aliens are so good, both physically and the voice acting on those that did have dubbed voices, which I guess is 4 of them. Kevin Thompson, who played Blasny, the pilot character, he did the voice in addition to performing the suit. And I think Tommy Madden, Giggy did also. Oh no, Giggy has another voice. Tony Pope did that voice, but maybe it's just Kevin Thompson. But
yeah.
But yeah, I just think all of that is so weird and funny, and yeah, it's great. So the people who made what do you got?
I was about to say, and that voice I found endlessly distracting throughout the entire movie.
Oh, his like weird Nicholson thing.
Oh yeah. It's just like throughout, and I thought like, all right, eventually this is gonna sink in for me and I'm gonna accept it. But no, the entire movie I kept being like, it's a Nicholson voice.
Another one is a was it a Cagney voice? No, or Cary Grant voice is one of the other ones. They're all kind of like they're all very Earth archetype-y actor voices. Which sure, I can understand. But yeah, it's just because like I'm just like I know what that character is, so it wasn't distracting for me. But I get it. So personnel. Let's talk about personnel a little bit. We do have Patrick Reed Johnson, who we talked about. Scott Lawrence Alexander co-wrote the movie, and this is the only movie he has a credit on. He's an old friend of Patrick Reed Johnson, and he was also the art director on this movie. But this is the only movie he's ever done. We talked a bit about David E. Russo, the composer. James L. Carter was the director of photography. He also, and it's not the most impressive filmography, but just titles that pinged for me were Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3, Destiny Turns on the Radio, which is like this really bad movie from 1995 starring Quentin Tarantino, or co-starring Quentin Tarantino. It's not good. My Dog Skip, some episodes of Undeclared, and then a lot of CSI, Hawaii Five-0, Castle, and MacGyver. So he's still working. Like new MacGyver, not good MacGyver. The production designer was a fellow named Anton Tremblay, who is also production designer on like a really great list of films. Army of Darkness, Return of the Living Dead 3, Leprechaun 2, Progeny, The Devil's Rejects, Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween. He was also the set designer on Killer Clowns from Outer Space and did accessory design on Stargate, which I can only imagine is like jewelry and other little fiddly things that Ra was wearing and stuff. But interestingly, I learned I've worked with that dude. I worked on a short film that wound up being called In Her Place in the year 2015 that he was the production designer on. And I have vague memories that he was a nice person. But I wish at the time I knew that he had worked on Space Invaders and was the production designer on Army of Darkness. Like, oh my god!
Oh, that is crazy.
Yeah, who's the lead in that thing? She's an interesting actress whose name is now eluding me. A Girl Walks Alone Home at Sheila Vand. That's her name. She was the lead in that movie, and she was a very nice lady, and I'm glad that she's doing well now. So Anton Tremblay, production designer. Sanja Milkovic Hayes was the costume designer, and she was also the costume designer on a lot of things. This is like a heavily abbreviated list, but Blade, Star Trek Insurrection, Mission to Mars, all the Fast and Furious movies going back to the first one and through number 10, which is in the works right now. Triple X, Piranha 3D, Star Trek Beyond, and Captain Marvel. So the lady that was responsible for putting an alien in a Lakers t-shirt now works for Marvel and Fast and Furious. I looked at the two editors on this movie, and neither of them have huge editing filmographies. Seth Graven is an old editor, or is an old friend of Patrick Reed Johnson, and there's very few other editing credits, but did work on House 4 and Revenge of the Nerds 3, The Next Generation. And Daniel Gross, the other editor, edited a movie that I know called Slaughterhouse Rock, because it has the distinction of being one of two movies that Devo as a band ever did the score for. It's not good. I don't recommend it. John Knoll, we've talked about at length at this point. John Criswell was on the animatronics team and was responsible for crafting the aliens themselves. Also did animatronics work on Reanimator and Bride of Reanimator, Critters 4, Muppet Christmas Carol, Theodore Rex, Master of Disguise, Spy Kids 3D, and this is a guy that's been in-house with Henson for a really long time. An in-house like animatronics tech. And Greg Johnson, also responsible for the alien effects. This is his only credit.
Whoa.
What? One of the guys responsible for those aliens being as good as they were did no other movies. It's baffling to me.
You'd think he was at least in Adventures in Dinosaur City or something.
You would think. You would think
because
one of those.
Production that was like.
Yes, exactly. And these are funny. I'm calling out these two names because they were called out in the commentary. Greg Aronowitz and Mark Sicoli were both apparently production assistants on the movies, but Aronowitz wound up with three different credits. Actually, wound up with being credited as costume illustrator, model maker / prop builder, and matte painter. And Mark Sicoli eventually wound up being credited as second unit camera assistant. But the team in the commentary made sure to call them out specifically because they wanted. You remember that gag when Vern just lifts that giant engine block out of the truck to go put it in the big machine he's building? These two dudes, Aronowitz and Sicoli, built that engine out of foam core in 2 days because the art department forgot to do it. And it was assigned to two PAs who did it in 2 days, and it looked good. Like I actually was like, how did they do that with this heavy thing? I was sold on that effect. And Stealth Effects did the matte paintings. That's Patrick Reed Johnson and his dad. So yeah, that's the people who made Spaced Invaders.
Nice.
And you know what? I am really sorry to do this in a podcast. I drank a lot of coffee today. And so, Travis, would you mind terribly just, like, talking for a couple minutes while I go pee?
Yeah, let's do that.
Great. I'll be right back.
So, yeah, we've got, oh my gosh. Ariana Richards. She was in Jurassic Park. She got sneezed on by a Brachiosaurus. Also worked with Joseph Mazzello, who has no association with this movie. And then we've also got Patrick Reed Johnson. He had directed a film, as we had discussed, called 52577, which got like basically no release. It was very hyped, and then a release really didn't happen. So nobody really got to see it. There'll be some other interesting things we'll talk about when Alex gets back. And we definitely got Kevin Thompson, who was the he was so fun in Adventures in Dinosaur City as Mr. Small, who had that awesome line, "I'm free, I'm free." And and then he was also in Blade Runner, where he played Bear, and he was also in the Ewok movies. Snyder cut everybody. And then we didn't get to talk much about the Batman trailer, but it doesn't. I'm excited for it. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
I'm back, and I agree.
All right.
Thank you, Travis.
That was
you were doing
terrible.
impressions? I missed impressions? Damn.
I was panicking and looking at my notes, and then
I'm sorry to do that to you, dude.
Mr. Small and Adventures in Dinosaur City.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, couldn't draw on your training in the Imperial Atomic Space Navy to fill up that 2 minutes of me peeing.
No, not at all.
Where's this hair coming from?
Well, I would have moved on into
I know,
the Star Trek
but you
stuff,
need me to
but I'm like,
trigger
I
these
don't have the
images.
stuff.
Yeah.
Prepare to die, Earth scum!
Okay, so Trek connections?
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll move on into the Trek connections.
Yeah.
Because
there's a lot of them here.
Yeah, Uhura appears in this film, but not Nichelle Nichols.
Right.
One of the extra townspeople, actress named Tanya Williams, was dressed up as Uhura.
Yeah, and they mentioned in the commentary that her character, she is billed in the opening credits. She's a billed actress in the opening credits, but this is the only scene in the movie she's in. It's because she had a whole subplot where she was dating the radio station DJ who put on War of the Worlds, and all that stuff got cut. So like there's only this one shot of her in the movie, but she remains like one of the top billed actors in the movie.
Wow. Well, she is in briefly more than, because she's at that first one, and then you see her briefly. As you can see, she's over the shoulder of our pal Hulk Hogan.
Oh yeah, there she is.
Because I went to that scene specifically looking for her, hoping that I would get a shot of her with a shotgun, so I could have a picture of her with a shotgun.
That'd have been pretty great.
But I still like that look on his face.
Yeah, me too.
So
no, it's a good frame.
Yeah, and really, there is only one cast member in this film who has any Trek connections at all, and that's Kirk R. Thatcher. And Kirk R. Thatcher, he, as we have said, he's got like a bunch of credits with the Jim Henson Company. He also worked as a creature guy on Return of the Jedi. And he narrated a short Treks episode called Ephraim and Dot, which is one of these short Treks that they've been doing. And I watched it. It's pretty amusing.
Cool.
It takes place on the original Enterprise. You can see in the background of that one shot, we've got Sulu getting ready to sword fight.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a fun little short.
Maybe I should watch that.
So yeah, he narrated that, and then he appeared on screen in Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home as the punk on the bus.
Yeah,
playing the song "I Hate You,"
which you're listening to now, behind us,
on his ghetto blaster.
Yeah.
And the song, I looked it up. It's credited as being performed by the Edge of Etiquette, and come to find out, Edge of Etiquette is actually just a name that Kirk Thatcher made up because he composed and sung the song himself,
which is pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read the same Memory Alpha article, and I liked reading their version of what they did for punk production, which was move all the instruments into the hallway and use the worst equipment that we have to make it sound like a real punk recording. And you know what? Mission achieved. It sounds like a real old punk single. Also, Kirk Thatcher was Leonard Nimoy's personal assistant. for a couple of Star Trek movies. That's how he wound up in this role in Star Trek 4.
Yep. Yeah, and also as an associate producer on it, and in Star Trek 3, which makes sense with the Nimoy connection.
Yep.
And then that wasn't the end for this character.
Nope.
The character is in the MCU.
Which this I did not know.
Oh, I didn't know until today. He reprised the role as the Punk in the MCU in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Prepare to die,
He's in the scene where they're like, "You're that spider guy on YouTube. Do a flip." So there he is. He apparently he was having a meeting with Kevin Feige, and Feige was about to go on the set of Spider-Man Homecoming. And Thatcher said, "Well, I'm heading to New York here in a few days." And he's like, "Oh my gosh!" I guess Kevin Feige was a huge fan of the Punk character and Star Trek 4, and asked if he would want to come on the set and play the character again while he was there. So they did that.
That is so great. I love that a lot. You sent over some other good pictures too. We might as well show those while we're in the show and tell portion of the show here, not looking at our faces. This is a cool UK promo that you found for Spaced Invaders.
Yeah, I thought that looked pretty neat.
Yeah, I like the design of this.
What is the character's name in the varsity jacket again?
The varsity jacket, I think that's either Pez or Giggy-Wig. I'm not totally sure. It's either Pez or Giggy-Wig because we have Dr. Ziploc in the middle there. We have Blasny to his right, and we have Captain Bipto to I think immediately to the left, and then off to the sides we have Pez and Giggy-Wig. See, I would say, and I love that prop. And here, it's not illustrated really like it is in the movie, but in the movie, that it's like a communicator prop. And what it is, it's like something, but the antenna that come out of it are just like party blowers. Yeah. That, like, there must be just like a button to inflate them to make it look like they're going up and down and communicating. But I'm like, that's a great little cheap effect. It looks very appropriate for like the kind of like tech look that these aliens had.
Yeah, it's otherworldly.
It is otherworldly.
Just speaking of him, I like the fact that he's got the ET finger going on.
He does. Oh, I'm sorry. You were going to that point and I totally trampled you and said a bunch of other crap. I'm trying to get better about that. I've listened to episodes of our podcast. I noticed like, I just trampled something that Travis was going to say.
Oh, no. It's okay. It's my fault for talking so slowly.
Nah, it's the faults of the internet lag. But check out this other thing you found. These standees. This thing is cool, man. I wish I could own these. Angela would never let me have them up in the apartment. That wouldn't be. That would not be part of the new decor. Prepare to laugh, Earth scum.
Yeah, these are for the rental stores.
Yeah, for the VHS sell-through. So Disney made these standees. That's a Disney product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you also sent me this.
You know, oh my gosh, looking at this now, I recall seeing the middle one at my my local rental place, because they used to have like a huge wall like covering the inside where they would just put up like all the movie posters or like they would just like it would accumulate and just be like this huge mural.
Right.
And I do recall seeing this.
That's pretty awesome.
Like up on a wall.
That's pretty awesome.
Amidst all the other ones.
Wonder if they pop up on eBay ever. Angela, I'm sorry in advance. And you also sent over this cool behind the scenes shot.
Yeah. Which it just looks like Ariana Richards like went to a wax museum, or is it like Universal Studios at 1990? It just looks like it looks like some kind of like a family photo.
Yeah, it does. Where did you find that? Because
Just found it on the internet.
okay, I think it came from, because I looked, I was like, where did you dig this up? So I looked, and I think it just came from Ariana Richards 2 years ago posted that, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was the 28th anniversary of my first film, Space Invaders, and posted a handful of shots, of which this was one.
Oh, interesting.
So,
Yeah, it might have originated there.
yeah, so Ariana Richards still fondly remembers. And she is, I haven't watched the rest of the special features on this new Blu-ray yet, but there is a new interview with her on the Blu-ray as well. So, yeah. Now Angela says, oh no.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like her, we mentioned before the Spielberg, liking her so much to put her in Jurassic Park. And I had made a joke before we started recording. He's like, because Drew Barrymore was too old.
And I'm sure that's totally correct.
Yeah, because she performs very similarly to like Drew Barrymore and E.T.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I love this movie. I'm just looking at like other notes I made like during the course of the movie, and a lot of the stuff like I highlighted was just quotes like that I thought were funny, like the alien ship toward the beginning, after we cut back to them being basically obliterated, and the Enforcer drone goes, "I have not yet begun to fight," and the alien responds, "Well, now would be a great time to start," and then they get blown up immediately following.
There's so many good Klembecker lines. I like when he does the spit take in his truck, and then he immediately says, "Clean that up."
To his poor date that's just in there. Yeah. She's like trying to clean it with her elbow because she has nothing to wipe it down with.
And he's throwing cigarettes at the kids.
Like he answers the door in costume on Halloween. There's trick-or-treaters. He goes, "Oh, I forgot." There's also these really funny like old people hanging out on their porch, and talking about they remember like when War of the Worlds was first broadcast, and the wife makes a remark, and her husband goes, "Oh, would you just die already?" And because she was making fun of him for taking the original broadcast seriously and like putting buckets on their heads to ward off alien brain penetration, and then when the ship blazes past right before it crashes into the barn, it whizzes past them, kind of blows them all off to the side of the porch, and then she just goes, "I'll get the bucket." Yeah, and of course the repeated refrain,
Prepare to die, Earth scum!
Prepare to die, Earth scum. I always thought was hilarious. And that was part of my vernacular as a child too. Prepare to die, insert appropriate thing here, scum. And I do remember a party, birthday party or something at my house in Pittsburgh when I was a real little kid, probably like 8 years old maybe. And one of my cousins was there, and I'm not gonna use his real name in the podcast, but he like at one point appeared on the landing of the stairs with my guitar in his hands, I was like, "Why do you have my guitar?" So I shouted, "Prepare to die, Mark Scum!" and got in trouble for threatening to kill my cousin. Yeah. This is a great line from Brian the Duck character, when it's early in his it's when Kathy Ariana Richards is explaining what she's figured out, which is that these guys are from Mars, and he's explained to her, and he goes to her, "I will remind you, I'm just a little boy, and I'm very susceptible to nightmares." Yeah. "Never mess with a Frisbee champion," he says after taking down Blasny with a trash can lid.
Yeah. I also found it interesting. There's so many things in here that come from stuff we've already covered, like where the buffalo roam from Pet Shop.
Yeah,
Is a song they sing.
that is.
We've got Hulk Hogan.
We do have a Hulk Hogan reference from Suburban
And,
Commando. Yeah.
Also a Zagnut bar.
Yeah. So Zagnut, and this is probably why Zagnut in the other film too, this was a thing they mentioned in the commentary, that in the script and what they tried to license was a Mars bar, because
Oh, that makes sense.
obviously the Mars Candy Company wanted to take 6 months to do an impact study to figure out if this would be the right thing to associate their brand with. And the movie team was just like, well, we cannot wait 6 months to put your candy bar in a movie. What can we license? And they licensed Zagnut pretty immediately. So that might be why we see Zagnuts in movies. It might just be like an easy to license candy bar.
Because I know it's like, well, we've got this other movie coming out this year featuring like a small puppet person. Let's go ahead and do it.
Let's do it, Zagnut.
Yeah. Whereas like probably the Mars bar was thinking like, ooh, is this going to be our Reese's Pieces?
Right. And we need to take 6 months to figure this out. Yeah. What else? Verndroid, away! As he like is relinquished of his duties as a enslaved Martian robot, but stays a robot. He does not go back to being just the regular guy.
Oh. I'm like, all right, now he's going to go back to his normal self, but no, he's still that other guy.
Yeah. And one of my favorite, this is such a weird joke and it's kind of out of nowhere. I think it's the movie's only poop joke. But like one of the things in the movie is like it's a farm town, but the land has all been like really bad for the last couple years and crops haven't been growing. And the ship is struggling to get out to leave. Like it's been so damaged it's struggling to take off. And once it's finally in the air, they find that they're too heavy and they have to lighten the load. So what they do is they eject the contents of what's probably the spaceship's septic tank, which drops like fluorescent green stuff over all the farm fields as they take off, which of course Martian poop revitalizes the once unarable farmland in Big Bean, Illinois, turning around the town's fortunes. So they were better for being invaded by the small Martian force. And they get back to space and they're just happy to be alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some other awesome quotes.
Yeah.
Never tell me the decimal points.
Yes.
Also, a lot of this movie is predicated on the fact that the aliens don't understand the concept of dynamite.
Yes. Yes. They in order to entice the Enforcer droid away from destroying everything, they're like, let us present you with this planet's Trinitrotoluene award. And it's a stick of dynamite that then goes on to blow up the Enforcer droid.
Yep.
They understand a fantastic amount of things about Earth, but not dynamite. That kind of stuff is funny. I mean, just in terms of like, it doesn't make any sense.
Also, this weird quote: the last time I put a cherry bomb under a garbage can, the garbage can didn't make it. I guess somebody up there is watching you. Or I guess somebody up there likes you.
Because their plan to blast, like just put a blast under the alien ship to get it to launch, worked. Which I initially thought was like, I was like, oh, is Wrenchmuller trying to just like blow up the ship with all this TNT? But no, he was genuinely trying to help, it seemed.
Yeah.
I also realized I kind of ripped off the Wrenchmuller character in this script that I wrote with Warren a number of years ago for like a local crazy old man that had like a shed full of dynamite. I didn't realize I ripped off like the old guy that on a farm with a shed full of dynamite from this movie, but I guess I did.
Well, they're going to be coming after you now.
I know, I can smell the lawsuit. So yeah, do you have any other stray notes you got on your pages?
I don't think so. Rinchmuller, I thought it was interesting. He was going to be going in to just to scare Klembecker a little bit with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Which it was confiscated, and then it was figured out, oh, it wasn't loaded. So it's okay for this loose cannon old man to be walking around threatening people with a gun as long as it's not loaded.
As long as it's not loaded. Yeah. In the Midwest town full of cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboy town. Oh boy, the ladies are petitioning for us to eat a Zagnut bar on the air. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I've never had a Zagnut. Can you buy a Zagnut?
I think so. I looked it up. Its main ingredient is peanut butter and coconut.
Oh, I do not like the sound of that. But
it's not even chocolatey. It's not the right color.
It's not the right color? That's...
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the color you want a candy bar to look.
That sounds very upsetting, but perhaps for science we will do it. So, yeah, I don't really have much more to say about this movie. Just, perhaps...
Prepare to die, Earth scum!
Yeah, but,
Yes.
But I do think it's really funny. I still think it's really funny. It's generally a lot of the stuff that we seem to find fault with in movies of this vintage, in terms of like just insensitivity to humans or women or like whatever that we found in stuff like Pre-Hysteria and like in Pet Shop and like in Thought Your Parents Were Weird and like these kinds of things. None of this is a comparatively very nice, very clean little movie, I think.
Yeah.
I think it really...
Yeah, no, it's very mild in that regard.
Yeah. I think, like, I was even surprised when, like, when Blasny goes at one point, like, ain't life a bitch? I was like, oh, they said that. But, you know, I guess that they got away with that through Touchstone in 1990. But I think it's a really nice little movie. I think Ebert is completely wrong to have called this movie a waste of time. There is an amazing amount of craft here on display, at the very least, and on top of the craft, it's funny. So, I think if you haven't seen this movie, check it out. I think it's a really nice little nugget that generally gets overlooked, and I'm really glad that Kino never does like the most amazing job on their restorations. I don't really like the way they digitally treat the films that they restore. But the fact that this movie now does have a special edition Blu-ray with a commentary track and a bunch of new interviews with key players, I think is great, and obviously a lot more than we can say for a bunch of the other movies that we've talked about on this podcast.
Oh yeah. Some of which you can't even watch.
No. Can't even watch Adventures in Dinosaur City. That is like the most obscure one, for sure.
You can't watch Toys.
Yeah. I have to believe that Toys... I don't think we talked about this on the show, but there's a rumor going around that that soon it will be announced that there will be an adult section of Disney Plus, basically. That will be PIN password protected.
Okay.
And that's where content from Touchstone and 20th Century will wind up, not only going forward, but it could also be like the actual streaming home of like the Alien franchise and stuff like this. So
yeah, they gotta put that stuff somewhere.
Has to be,
other than just Hulu.
Has to, yeah. So I do hope that rumor turns out to be true. That rumor is via Bill Hunt at the Digital Bits, who I've been reading for home video news for like over 10 years. I don't like the way the website's laid out, but in terms of like information, can't be beat. He's the guy that broke the story about Disney basically ditching physical media. And I have to believe that Toys would be part of that streaming library if/when it launches. And hopefully Space Invaders too, man. Yeah. Space Invaders could also be part of that. Although I don't know why it wouldn't be just like part of Disney Plus proper. It totally fits.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't see why it wouldn't be there either. So.
So thank you for joining me for Space Invaders, Travis. I'm glad to kind of send out the proper review section of this season of the show on this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
No.
Oh, I was just going to go on to programming notes.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you have any-
No, I was going to go on to programming notes as well.
Cool. So yeah, next week is going to be our big review of Bill and Ted Face the Music, which I'm very excited about. I'm excited to merely reacting to a movie.
Yeah. It'll be fun to not spend a whole afternoon doing research and taking notes on a movie and just to watch the movie and enjoy it and talk about it after. I will have seen it either 1 or 2 times by the time we do the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wearing my unlicensed Wild Stallions shirt in preparation. Next week I'll be wearing one of my licensed Bill and Ted t-shirts. But yeah, Angela and I are going to the drive-in on Saturday to see it.
Yeah.
Are you guys going? Are you guys finding a venue? Or you got to do the VOD?
I mean, probably it's going to be a VOD.
Makes sense.
Do not know. It's got like local theaters opening up. I don't know if they're going to be showing it.
I wouldn't go inside a theater. I would only.
That's like all we've got.
I would only go to a drive-in. That'd be like I'm not going to step foot into a movie theater again until there's a vaccine. Straight up, like it just sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah. No, California has more drive-ins than we do.
Yeah, by one. There's one drive-in in my area. All the other drive-ins that have sprung up in the wake of the pandemic are all like organizations that rent a parking lot and a screen for when they want to do a drive-in. There's only one like proper drive-in, and that's the Mission Tiki. I might be wrong about that. I think I'm right, but Mission Tiki Drive-In is where all the events are happening. And also they are doing a special kind of like secret premiere screening of Bill and Ted Face the Music that I'm not going to because it's sold out in less than 5 minutes.
Whoa.
But they're doing a double feature of Excellent Adventure followed by a secret film on Thursday night. It's obviously Face the Music.
The secret film is just Bogus Journey.
I would be so happy. I'm lucky enough that I've gotten to see both Bill and Ted movies in Roadhouse screenings on 35mm. I got to see Excellent Adventure on 35 at the Oaks Theater in Pittsburgh probably 11 years ago maybe. And a few years ago they did a double feature of Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey at the Aero Theater in Santa Monica with a wonderful Q&A panel of a lot of the cast and producer and a lot of amazing people. The first movie was a DCP at that screening, but Bogus Journey was on 35. Very happy. Both times they had original trailers attached. If I remember correctly, I can't remember if it was in front of the print I saw of Excellent Adventure, there was still a trailer for UHF attached, or if when I saw UHF on 35, there was a trailer for Excellent Adventure attached. I don't remember which that was, but I know I've seen a trailer for the one attached to the other off of the vintage print, because they're both released by Orion.
Yeah, we'd have to look at the release dates.
Ah, yes. There is a way to know.
UHF was released in July of '89.
I forget what month Excellent Adventure was. Come on, internet.
February of '89.
Okay, so it was a trailer for UHF attached to Excellent Adventure.
We figured it out.
We figured it out, guys. But I'm super psyched.
Yes.
I am very, very excited for this movie. If it's not good, I will be bummed out. But I think it'll be one of those things. I am more forgiving of things that I might not like immediately when I know that it's uncompromised. Meaning, like, I know that this is the movie that they wanted to make. I know that this is the movie that the writers wanted to make, that the producer, Scott Krupp, who's been with the franchise since the first movie in development in 1987, 86, this is a movie the writers wanted to make, it's a movie Keanu and Alex Winter wanted to make, and all those people making these choices, and also, like, Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon, who wrote the first two movies and who wrote this movie, they wrote this script on spec. the new one. Like, these guys work. They don't need to just, like, write a new Bill and Ted movie in the hopes that they can do it. Like, Ed Solomon wrote Men in Black. You could retire off of having written Men in Black. But, like, you know, we have this... They wrote this movie because they wanted this movie to exist. And so, as I believe that whatever we get, that's only what Bill and Ted 3 could have ever been. And I'm here for it.
Yeah. So yes, that's going to be next week. And then the following week, you and I and Dustin will be covering season 2 of The Boys, which season 2 premieres in a 3-episode chunk next Friday, September 4th. Yes. So we're going to be covering the first 3 episodes.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
And then it will be released weekly after that.
Okay. I had mentioned to you that I had watched the first 4 episodes of the first season, like, just pre-pandemic, like, right before everything shut down. And then pandemic happened, and I forgot that I was watching any TV that I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't pick it back up. And then I started watching it again last week and went back to episode 4 to rewatch it to, like, just kind of reorient myself. And holy crap, I could not be more excited for the second season. I liked the first season so much. I liked it a lot. So I'm actually super psyched for the new season and psyched to, like, babble about it because, like, why not? It's something to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a brutal show too. It's like devastating. The just because we started watching the first episode of season 1 again last night, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
for like what propels everything forward.
Yeah, just immediately. And the one scene that had stuck with me since watching it the first time through was the airplane scene in episode 4, which I had forgotten was in episode 4, but, like, I love that scene. Oh my gosh, what a scene. Terrifying, horrible, heartbreaking. But, like, in the just for that kind of a scene. It's like that kind of a scene is very like a bold thing to do, period, in a TV show. In a movie, I would be less surprised by it, but in a TV show, I'm very, very surprised by that scene. In a very good way, because it is awful. It makes you feel very bad. So yeah, I'm psyched. I'm psyched for all the stuff we got coming up. Bill and Ted, we're going to talk about it either on Monday or Wednesday. We're not sure.
Yeah, so stay tuned for the schedule, for the programming on that, and when to tune in.
Yep.
And so, in the meantime, Alex, where can people find more of you?
I am on the Twitter and the Instagram at Alex Brunel, and it's mostly just retweets about the Postal Service and other dumb stuff. But yeah, that's where I live on the internet. How about you? How about the show?
The show you can find at Who Watches Podcast on Twitter, Who Watches Pod on Instagram. We're on Facebook, where we stream live every week, as well as on the YouTubes and on Twitch. And you can find an audio version of this podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. So please listen, subscribe, and review.
Nice. Yes, please. Thumbs up us. Do the things. Watch us 7,000 times. Like the still very confusing blank check episode. But all right, yeah.
Yes. So, in the meantime, stay safe, stay sane, and stay smiling.
Yeah.